The Forever Winter is a post-apocalyptic grimdark extraction shooter where you are nothing. Where every step forward feels like an achievement.
Stay quiet. Get this done.
And every barrel of water you scavenge means another day to survive.
Carry the fire in these pockets.
In Forever Winter, you're not special ops, you're not a space marine, you're not even a soldier. You're a lowly, malnourished, unequipped sack of bones amidst a brutal conflict between high-tech superpowers locked in eternal war. Hello my fellow meatbags, welcome to my preview of the Forever Winter, a fresh take on the extraction shooter genre where survival hinges as much on evading combat as getting stuck into it. And sorry for the grim introduction, but Forever Winter is one of the grimmest games I've ever played, and from the moment you boot up the game, the miserable but infectious atmosphere is immediately established, which I kinda love. A huge thank you to Fundog Studios for the early access, who've asked me to not treat this as a review since this is an early access build, so I'm not going to break down the game too heavily. However, I will be sharing my experience and going over some of the game details so far in the relatively short amount of time I've had to play the game. So what kind of gameplay can you expect from Forever Winter? The first thing I will say is that the game is a PvE extraction shooter that prides itself on its difficulty. The game is supposed to be horrifying and unforgiving, where playing solo or with a team presents its own challenges. For my time playing, I played solo and I almost couldn't perceive a moment where having someone else with me would have made things better. I was constantly scurrying from one piece of rubble to the next, in and out of dark abandoned bunkers as I looked on in awe at the giant diesel punk AI mechs rampaging just a few feet away, where one wrong move or overextension would result in my instant death, let alone that of my teammates. But if I was careful enough, I could avoid being seen, and as with every new raid of this particular map, the AI would always initially be more interested in destroying each other instead of me. Every raid you enter is essentially an ongoing battlescape that you must navigate, loot and survive by extracting on the other side. I played for 3 hours and I could only manage a single extraction out of 5 or 6 raids in that time. The main resource you're looking to extract initially is water.
Not bad.
This is because water is the resource you need in order to keep your base operational back at the Innards, an underground settlement where you and other survivors have banded together to eke out a meager living, while the ruthless factions wage war above. Every barrel of water you extract unlocks progress towards unlocking better vendors for your base, but you need to maintain water upkeep in order to keep them available, and if your water supply reaches 0, you'll lose them altogether, as well as any gear, recruits, and loot you've acquired in your time playing. You don't lose characters or the experience you've acquired playing with these characters though, so getting back into raids and building up water supplies becomes a priority. The Innards sort of reminds me of Zion from The Matrix, but less sexy underground hippie rave and more stinky underground LA crack house, where you'll purchase supplies and weapons as you build trust with vendors, recruit AI teammates, or join up with up to 3 other players for your next raid. This is also where you can customize your rig, the huge backpack you take into raids, which can be modified to carry specific items of various sizes you might come across in any given raid, since you'll often need to make a choice between which items to keep and which items to leave behind based on the available room in your
Carry
rig.
the fire.
The characters you choose to take into a raid each have their own traits and weapon capabilities, although through my time playing, I've only used the Old Man. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be unlockable for the real build, or if these have just been made readily available for the early access. You'll also take on new quests here at the innards, which will lead you into different raids and battlescapes, with quest givers offering various rewards for completion, including reputation with particular factions later on. After you accept a quest, you can go to the region section and select an area to raid from the available maps, including different entry points which are locked based on the reputation you've acquired with the faction that owns it. Each faction has a rating, and successfully completing quests or using faction vendors increases your standing with them. Also, killing faction members in battle lowers their rating as well, and the higher the faction ratings you get, unlock better deals and a wider selection of items from vendors. As I said earlier, I'd played around 3 to 4 hours, and right from the start, the level of difficulty is made clear. In my first raid, I spent a long time initially just sort of taking in the surroundings and observing how well the AI behaved in the game. Again, this is very much an early access game and will be coming to Steam on the 24th of September for a very low $27, so you should definitely expect a work in progress where the developers are eager for more playtesters to provide feedback to help make the Forever Winter as good as it can be. After getting a hang of the basic controls, I started to make my way through the map. Aside from the rig-specific items you can find, looting is pretty standard stuff. Once I started moving out into the map, I began to notice the AI was usually more interested in fighting the other factions, and if you chose to move at the right time, you were relatively safe. That being said, there was a lot of AI at all times patrolling, running, fighting, and flying around the map, so you've got to choose your moments well and not get caught in what feels like a pretty narrow line of sight. If you're used to typical extraction shooters, one thing you've got to get used to with Forever Winter is relying on loot dropped by dead AI rather than creating the corpses yourself. At any moment, a fresh round of AI patrols or troops can move in from their spawns at the edge of the map. This cyborg would not piss off, so after butt-clenching long enough and after checking the surroundings, I fired my first shot in the game so far, thinking I would be safe. Somehow I'd survived after shitting my pants and opening fire prematurely. I think the cyborgs were actually about to attack the other soldier. Definitely some wonky AI stuff going on too, but it's early access and I'll be reviewing it a little heavier sometime into its official early access release. At this point, I know if I'm ever going to extract safely, I'm going to need to wait for another opportunity to make a move once the AI start fighting again. This was my first raid, so I had no idea what to expect, and I can tell you, out of the multiple raids I ran, each one played out differently. The trouble with running into wonky AI situations is they can be even more unpredictable, so I was sort of waiting for them to return to some kind of predictable pattern before I made another move. Shit. An anticlimactic end to my first raid. Forever Winter felt brutal, but using what I'd learned, I was ready for more. Raid number 2, firing my gun twice. Raid number 3, sneaky sneaky, eaten by cyborgs. Raid number 4, make it to extraction point without firing a shot, eaten by cyborgs. Raid number 5, crushed by a tank. Raid number 6, almost extract, eaten by cyborgs. Raid number 7, almost extract, shot to death. And raid number 8,
We made it out.
I hope you enjoyed my early access preview for Forever Winter. If you got something out of the video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel for similar content and my actual future review. Goodbye.